accessing resources for growth from external sources. So using external parties to grow a business. Entrepreneurs can use the resources of others to help grow their business, and through joint ventures, acquisitions, and or mergers. Franchising is an alternative through licensing your name, process, product, service, and so on. Regardless of your mode of growth, entrepreneurs need to be good negotiators to obtain resources for necessary growth. So this is when businesses truly have to take the next step. How do you go about it? One option is joint ventures. A joint venture is a separate entity involving a partnership of two or more active participants, also called a strategic alliance. The most common type is between two or more private sector companies. Some joint ventures are formed to do cooperative research. University research agreements may have some issues. A corporation wants tangible results such as a patent on a new product or service, and universities just want their share of financial returns, and they want to publish the knowledge through research papers, whereas a corporation may want to keep it an industry secret. International joint ventures, so going across borders for this, have different advantages and drawbacks. The advantages first, both companies share in earnings and growth. The joint venture can have low cash requirements. They provide ready access to new international markets, and there is a less resource drain than a fully owned subsidiary. Now, some drawbacks to an international joint venture is problems in the direction and growth may occur if the partners have very different objectives. There may be cultural differences that can create managerial difficulties. Government policies can negatively impact the venture as well. So you got to be very careful when you're doing business in other countries and with partners in other countries. Now, some factors in joint venture success. To be effective, managers must work well together. There must be symmetry of objectives, capabilities, with both sides perceiving a fair relationship. Expectations must be realistic and consistent across all partners, and the timing must be right. A joint venture is one of many options for supplementing the resources of a firm and responding quickly to competitive challenges and market opportunities. Now, what about acquisitions? An acquisition is a purchase of a company, or at least part of it. The acquired company is absorbed and no longer exists independently. They become a component of a larger organization. Acquisitions are excellent for growth and entering new markets if you're the acquiring company, and a key issue is agreeing on a price. So if you have a smaller company and you're reaching success and this is your exit strategy, i.e. you're going to get paid for for someone else to acquire your company, it can be an excellent exit strategy if everyone agrees on price. The structure of the deal can be more important to the success than the price, meaning you actually get paid. And a prime concern is to ensure the acquisition fits into the overall strategic plan of the present venture. So it's got to make sense for both sides. Now, advantages and disadvantages of acquisitions, and advantages is you're getting an established business. Customers know the locations. You have established marketing structure if you acquire a company, or if you're acquired as a company. You may cost less than other methods of expansion. Existing employees are an important asset, and time can be spent strengthening the business instead of building it from the ground up. Now, some disadvantages here. Most ventures for sales have marginal success records. Entrepreneurs and managers may be overconfident in their ability to overcome problems. Overly optimistic of the acquisition, that is. If a business changes hands, key employees may leave. That's just a window of change that some people might decide they no longer want to be a part of the new organization. If the price is too high, the return may be too low, and there's a lack of synergy. There can be a lack of synergy if frequent cause of failure. So there's a bumpy ride when you go through acquisitions. I've actually worked in an industry where I was working for a company I really liked and was acquired by another company that I didn't like so much. And it kind of felt like people were working against each other, and you had people like, oh, well, you're new to this company, here's how we do things. And you're like, well, you're kind of new to this company, here's how we do things. So it can be a breeding ground for conflict for sure. Structuring the deal. There are many techniques, each with distinct advantages. Deal structure involves parties, assets, and the payment form, and the timing of the payment, rather. Two common deals, the direct purchase or the bootstrap purchase. In a direct purchase, the entrepreneur obtains funds from an outside lender and repays over time from the operations cash flow. So it's kind of like getting an investor or getting a bank or something to help you buy another company. A bootstrap purchase acquires 20 to 30% of the firm for cash and purchases the remainder over a long-term note. So it's kind of like layaway for a company, if you will, paid for through earnings. Locating acquisition candidates may require a professional business broker who aggressively finds buyers. Personal contacts and print ads may lead to the acquisition of candidates. So this can be a very convoluted process. And a lot of times a broker can help you find the right business to acquire. Merger. Now, a merger is a transaction involving two or more companies in which only one company survives. A key concern in any merger or acquisition is the legality of the purchase. So the merger motivation ranges from survival, so you're trying to merge to survive, or to protection, you're trying to protect yourself against competition, or diversification to growth, so trying to expand what you offer or to acquire a competitors and grow into new markets, move into a new geographic area and serve a new market. A merger requires sound planning. It all requires sound planning. That's what this course is all about, is sound planning, right? Objectives must be spelled out. Evaluate the other company to avoid any compounding weaknesses, i.e. they're going to bring in more negative value than they do positive, or you're going to acquire a company that has the same set of problems you do. Ideally, you require a company that can shore up your weaknesses, not make them worse. And then you also have to establish a climate of trust. Again, it goes back to culture, which we talked about in the previous chapter. Value merger candidates. The same as acquisition candidates, so you got to look at mergers the same way as if, hey, we're rebuying this or we're going into 50-50. Let's make sure it, as we said in the previous slide, makes sense for both sides. A common procedure is to estimate the present value of discounted cash flows and expected tax earnings. Please take a look at that a little bit closer in the reading. The leveraged buyout. Say leveraged buyout occurs when an entrepreneur uses borrowed funds to purchase an existing venture for cash. Most LBOs, or leveraged buyouts, occur because the entrepreneur thinks they can run the company more efficiently. They see a company that's running, that's doing okay, but they think, man, we could really do something with it. The purchaser needs a large amount of external funding, and usually in the form of long-term debt. Banks, venture capitalists, insurance companies must provide debt for the leveraged buyout. And the repayment plan, must be in line with the expected cash flows, i.e. they think you can make the payments. The most LBOs, the debt capital exceeds an equity of 5-to-1 or as high as 10-to-1. Man, that's a lot of leverage. Significantly more debt equity than is what's typical. The key to success is to cover the principal and interest payments through the increased profits, i.e. you can make your payments. That does sound pretty key. Determining a good leverage buyout candidate. Is the asking price reasonable? Do subjective evaluations of the industry competitiveness and competitive position of the firm and uniqueness of the product and life cycle stage and abilities of remaining key personnel, i.e. does it make sense even after the deal? Quantitative techniques, including price earnings ratio of an LBO compared to comparable companies and the present value of the future earnings and its book value. So you say, hey, a company is going to be worth this much 5 years into the future. Well, how much is this much 5 years into the future worth today? And so does that make sense given the asking price? Assess the firm's debt capacity. This depends on the business risk and the stability of its future cash flows. Cash flow must cover financing payments, i.e. you got to have more money coming in than you got going out, and develop an appropriate financial package tailored to any situation. So it's pretty much like any other purchase you make, only it's a whole nother organization. Does it make financial sense? So there's some advantages here. Let's switch gears to franchising. So a franchisee. Franchising is an agreement between a franchisor and a franchisee. The entrepreneur or franchisee avoids the risk of starting a business from scratch. The franchisee enters a business with an accepted name or product. Another advantage is the managerial assistance from the franchisor. They can have systems in place that can help you start. The franchise is an opportunity to start a new venture and save capital. The franchise offers years of experience and market knowledge. The franchisor identifies suppliers of standardized products which maintain quality standards. So you're buying into a franchise and a brand that people know, which is a little bit safer. Franchising allows quick expansion with little capital. It's kind of a big package you buy. Capital needed is much less than without franchising. The value of the franchise depends on the history and the products offered. Excuse me. Operating a franchise business requires fewer employees because they have a proven model and you know exactly who you need, not guessing. The franchisor sees cost advantages. They can achieve economies of scale by purchasing large quantities. So basically, you get some of your parts and raw materials through your franchisor. So they have existing relationships for who you buy, say, your hamburger buns from. You don't have to come up with that yourself. So you buy that when you become a franchisee. That supply chain, rather. The big cost advantage is committing larger sums of money to an advertising, using an advertising pool, so you have a parent company who can already help you get a leg up on advertising. Some disadvantages of franchising: problem between the franchisor and the franchisee are common and receive attention from the government and trade associations. It can be kind of heavy-handed from the top down. Disadvantages for the franchisee center on the franchisor's ability to provide services, advertising, and locations. Sometimes they can't provide everything they promise. The franchisor also incurs risks. They may find it difficult to find qualified franchisees or reliable ones, and poor management can lead to an individual store failure, which then reflects back negatively on the entire system. So if you have a franchise McDonald's that is just really poor service and goes out of business, it makes McDonald's nationally look bad in that community. Types of franchises: there are three types of franchises, variations that exist. Dealerships occur when manufacturers use franchisees to distribute their product lines. Dealers must meet quotas. The most common type of franchise offer name, image, and method of doing business, such as McDonald's. A third type offers services such as a tax preparation under a common banner. Franchise opportunities evolve with changes in the environment, such as good health and keeping fit, time savings or convenience, healthcare, or second baby boom. So it kind of reflects what society's going through. Investing in a franchising involves many potential risks. Assess these factors before making your final decision. Is the franchise proven or unproven? Is there financial stability of their franchise? What is the potential market for the new franchise? And what is the profit potential rather, for the new franchise? Most information is in the disclosure statement or prospectus. Compare front-end procedural fees, royalty payments, and expenses. The contract or franchise agreement is the final step. Using a lawyer with experience with franchising is a must. Do not cut corners there. Negotiating for more resources. There are two tasks when negotiating for access to external growth mechanisms. The distribution task concerns how benefits are distributed. So this is your relationship with the supplier, distributor of your product. Supplier or a distributor of the product. The integration task explores mutual benefits in relationship, making the pie bigger, increases the likelihood of the agreement. Collaboration is more beneficial than a conflict resolution approach. This is kind of when you don't always have to bring it in house, but you start working more directly with the supplier or distributor. These things have to be negotiated. Negotiation requires initial assessments and strategies to gain information during the negotiation interactions. Your assessments while negotiating with these folks. What will you do if an agreement is not reached? The answer represents the entrepreneur's best alternative, which determines a reservation price from the negotiation. You need to be able to walk away, and what does that look like? What will the other party do if the agreement's not reached? What will they do if they have to walk away? And if an entrepreneur knows the other's reservation price, they have a good idea of the bargaining zone, so you can meet somewhere in the middle. What are the underlying issues? How important is it, each issue to you? Focus on the important issues and trade off aspects of less importance. That's pretty much negotiating everything, whether it's a car, a house, or whatever, or working together with a supplier or a potential merger or partner or franchisor. How important is each issue to the other party? Understanding the other party leads to integration and thus an agreement. Build trust and share information. To build trust and share information, and you can see if it's reciprocated. You can tell whether this is somebody you want to be in business with. Ask a lot of questions. Man, that's true of everything. Answers to questions are opportunities to learn more about the other party. Even non-answers provide some good information. Make multiple offers simultaneously. This can help determine which issues are the greatest importance to the other party. And if you understand the other party and you understand where you want to be, you can find the common ground or know when to walk away. Use differences to create trade-offs with mutually beneficial outcomes. Try to come to a conclusion. Again, really quick look at Chapter 14, accessing resources for growth from external sources. Catch you in the next chapter.